So, if you all think that Aladino has a tendency towards perfection, meet my dad.
That would be
So, put together, the two of them might make a perfect boat that's never built.
I resemble that.
Aladino!
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So, I just had the power planer out this morning, and that is because all these parts, the epoxy has cured on them.
Last week was all about the cockpit, planning a new one, ripping apart the old one, and starting to rebuild. Look at that! These beams were laminated together with some Alaska yellow cedar and epoxy, and will now be planed down and shaped to create new beams in the cockpit. However, this may not be our first priority of the week.
I don't know if we'll actually continue with this in this episode.
And the reason for that is that any moment now, my parents are going to be arriving. My mom and dad drove down from Canada for the weekend to see the boat and to help us out. And as it turns out, my parents are uniquely qualified to help us with a boat refit. More on that in just a moment.
Wow.
Wow.
This is the first time my mom and dad have seen our boat in person. Last time we were here, the land border between Canada and the States was still closed, so it's really exciting to finally have them here. Okay, parents.
No.
Yes, daughter.
Are you ready for an interview? Well, first of all, what are your names other than mom and dad?
Sharon and
Brian.
I think they're getting used to the idea of being on camera, but they sure were excited about the boat. My parents have always been huge sources of support and inspiration, and it felt amazing to finally be showing them what we're doing. Of course, they've seen all our videos, but it's different in person.
It's actually way bigger than I imagined. I don't know.
Oh, really?
When you see it on the film, you see...
It better be. I always think it's too small.
I know. One thing I'm really curious about is, maybe you guys noticed, my dad is excessively tall. You're like...
Now you see a comparison.
So I'm actually curious, Dad, if you're going to be able to fit in the saloon berth. That's going to be the longest.
Okay, let's give it a go.
That is one good thing about Deanie and I, is we're both boat-sized.
Oh, there's plenty of room. Oh yeah, look at that.
Hey,
I can even
awesome.
stretch out. This is
Hey,
perfect.
that's not bad.
I'll stay.
All right.
There you go. Sold.
Look at that. So,
Yeah, I'll stay.
so Dad can be our crew on some long passages then.
Uh-huh.
How's that, Dad?
That works for me.
All right.
Yeah, I've always liked pilot berths anyways.
And this tiny little short one, Mom, that's perfect for you.
I like the galley area too.
It's okay. So, I mean, one thing that this Cape George has that's a bit different than others is this bulkhead placement here.
Yeah.
So, normally this bulkhead placement is placed one beam further forward, making this saloon shorter,
Quite
meaning
small,
you
yeah.
wouldn't be able to sleep in it,
Yeah.
but you get more of a galley.
But-
So
but-
we have a really small galley, and realistically there's not a lot of counter space, but it'll be okay.
It'll be
Like
okay.
this will be the counter, but this also has to sort of be my working space, so it's...
The funny thing is that I, of course, at the beginning, I didn't realize that the bulkhead is placed differently. And it's
Right.
actually
Yeah,
quite
mine
funny
just said,
how I
yeah.
realized that is because I looked at photos of Cape George's and I saw they have a stove, a sink, and more countertop than
Yeah.
we do. And I was looking and shifting, and how the hell can I get more counter space? It
Yeah.
doesn't work
Right.
until I realized the bulkhead is in a different place.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
a different
Yeah.
spot. And I can almost stand up between the deck beams.
Oh wow!
With a bit
Yeah.
of a slouch.
A little bit of a slouch, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So nice to have you guys here, and we'll have to get you to introduce some of your history with sailing, because I do come by this honestly.
You do. The apple didn't fall too far from the tree.
Even though I've never actually been sailing with you guys, I went sailing once with my dad on my own boat,
Yes.
and I've never been sailing with you,
Well,
Mom.
we went whale watching in Tofino.
On a rib.
In English, you still call all that sailing though?
But before I was born, my parents did some voyages that I can only dream of.
We met each other on a 143-foot brigantine called the Soren Larsen in Auckland in New Zealand. They ran ocean voyage passages for passengers, and so we were part of the crew. And we did 13 months in South Pacific.
Yeah.
And then another 13 months going around Cape Horn and up the Mid-Atlantic on the Mid-Atlantic Islands. And where else and then we did
The Columbus voyage.
a 500-year anniversary Columbus voyage reenactment with a whole bunch of other big square rig ships. So it was a really big event. And we crossed the Atlantic and into the Caribbean with a whole bunch of ships.
Yes. Sharon had actually sailed locally in New Zealand waters before that.
Yeah, Mom's from New Zealand, by the way.
Yeah. And I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
It was the year of 1986 when I came back from a year in Europe. I was on my bike and climbing mountains, and a ship called the Bounty, which was a reenactment or a replica of the original Bounty. And I ended up getting a job on that. And that was the start of my career. I was 18 months on that vessel. I got off in Sydney and flew to Norway. And in Norway, I joined a Hardener yacht, which is the same kind of vessel that Roald Amundsen took through the Northwest Passage. And it was a vessel actually built in 1893, a wooden vessel. And I sailed that one as far as Fiji before I got off in Fiji. And then I went to Australia to join the Soren Larsen, and from Australia we sailed to Auckland, and that's where Sharon was standing at the top of the gangway, and it was love at first sight. I said, "Who's that little darling?"
Okay.
Mom's like, stop it now. Oh, that's sweet. And so, Mom, you're a nurse, and so, that nursing skill has taken you around the world on several boats. But Dad, your career has been in the marine industry ever since you graduated high school, essentially.
Yes.
So what's your official title now?
Right now I'm a first-class marine engineer, Canadian certified, and I work for a company called BC Ferries.
There you go. And you even brought your overalls with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
We
it's
knew this wasn't a relaxed holiday. We knew our children were putting us to work.
Rack the whip.
So they weren't here only to visit. Mom and Dad were also keen to get their hands dirty and show us young kids how it's done.
Look at that, you are hired.
That's one piece. We got one more to go.
They already put you to work. Appreciate your help. Thanks, BBD.
Oh, it's fun.
Should say Brian.
Gotta have fun every once in a while too.
Yeah, you don't get to actually use your fingers anymore, right?
I work too much on administrative tasks.
Yeah, administration, exactly. Well, whenever you're missing it, you're welcome down here. Nice.
And yellow cedar has always been my favorite.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's still too tight.
Well, and we heard dinner's ready.
Okay.
Enough for today. It's coming together. I like it.
The cockpit really is coming together. But since Mom and Dad are only here for a few days, there was another project that we wanted to get started on to make best use of their time and their van. And this project is one that's been with us for quite some time.
This morning we're going to start making some templates for the foam that's going to be inserted into the bulwarks, glassed into the bulwarks. And tomorrow we're going to Port Townsend.
Nice.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cape George Boat Yard. So we'll make those templates and then we'll get the foam tomorrow and cut them at the Cape George Yard.
The old wooden bulwarks are out, and the new bulwarks will be built with a rot-proof and strong synthetic material.
How does it sit on the hull, I wonder? Like, do we have to cut the shear as well? Like, does the cardboard sit flush on the deck? No.
Yeah.
Close?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, it doesn't go all the way up to the bow because of
Of course.
this extension here, but
Yeah.
let's see.
Is it enough to trace with the Sharpie, or do you need more height?
Do you have a compass?
I do.
Yeah.
Want the compass?
Yeah, and then I can scribe it.
Sure.
Dad, remember these are rough cuts. This is not the final cut.
No, that's fine, but we do want to get it reasonably close, and so that we know the angles.
And by reasonably close, he means within a few millimeters.
Yeah, it's reasonably close is subjective, right?
What is reasonable?
Yes.
Different definitions of the term.
Everybody has one.
Although we're not quite ready to actually install bulwarks, it makes sense to pick up the material while we have access to a larger vehicle. And plus, we just thought it would be a fun road trip to go to Port Townsend.
Starting here?
Starting there, okay? Parallel the line 1 inch above there?
Yeah.
Or we
Yeah, I think so.
just mark it? And you can do that on the table probably easier
Yeah,
than where
totally.
you are now.
And now we want to add an inch. First one done. Nah, not
Whoa.
done. Now we bring it up again. This one doesn't look bad. Sort of the whole sheet, which would make it a lot easier.
These templates are a bit complicated because the cardboard is thin, but the bulwark material itself will be over an inch thick. It's also complicated because the angle between the deck and the hull changes considerably from bow to stern. So Deanie and Dad decided to record those angles on the template to have a reference for later. Angle territory number 1.
Yes. I think they will hire you, Billy, when they see our template.
Alright guys, so you continue like this for the whole boat, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
Yes.
work on some other things with Mum.
Okay.
Alright, Mum's been my light person, by the way, so if this scene has been well lit, thank you, Mum. Actually so nice, because normally when I'm filming, I have the light in one hand and the camera in the other, but then I don't have a hand to actually control the camera.
Yeah, and hit the autofocus.
So then I like stick the light in my armpit and fumble around with the camera controls. It's awesome.
go.
You're hired, Mum.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And Mum, you're being a hero, helping us to polish some of the port lights.
Yes, that's what moms are, heroes.
It's true. Thanks, Mom. I love you.
I love you too.
I play my cards right.
Dad, how's it going up here?
Good. I'm just setting a few more bevels on our templates.
Eye of inspection.
Building inspector coming along, Dad. You better make sure you're doing it all up to snuff.
Many titles, many titles. Dust police, inspector.
I'm not gonna argue. It's just something that I'm not willing to do. Take me home.
that!
We made it. Also, a little note is we actually kept every slice 1 inch longer, taller, so to speak,
Yeah.
so that we have room to do corrections of the angle or to just smoothen it out along the entire length. And then the top will be trimmed at the very end.
To show you how much
Time to load up the van and head to Port Townsend.
So one day's full work results in a bunch of cut up cardboard. And off we go, like a herd of turtles.
Actually, we are driving a Volkswagen, so a herd of turtles might actually be pretty reasonable.
At the stop sign, take a slight right turn onto East Seals Way.
So here we are at the Cape George Marine Works yard, and this is the sheet of plastic that we're going to install. I believe it's called high density polyethylene. Don't quote me on that though. If you want any, talk to Todd, the yard manager.
And a huge thank you to our patron Charlene, who has provided us a huge amount of support over the years and has done it once again by sponsoring this bulwark material. Charlene, thank you.
Now we just lay out our templates and we see how it cuts, because it is a bit particular also because it does melt in some ways, so some tools do better than others.
Skill saw will cut those curves really easily.
These ones for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But we got some great hints from Larry, who is the expert in doing these bulwark refits on the Cape Georges here.
apple cider vinegar and honey off the cone. Do a lot of good for a simple man so.
So the skill saw is set for minimum depth. We should be able to get a bit of a curve in the skill saw cut to match the curve of the template. And then we're going to adjust the bevel cut to the minimum bevel for each piece so that at least we have a starting point.
You got cigarettes and coffee in the rain outside, but it takes a little more to feel just right. When you need something that feels like home, go apple cider vinegar and honey off the cone.
Well, the first cut is good. Making a curve cut with a skill saw is a little bit tricky, but this is pretty soft material, so it's cutting through it quite handily. Almost ready. One of the biggest challenges is just not to get it bound up in the cut and get off track. If you're making a slightly curved cut, it's harder to get back on track. The bevel is reduced now, so it's almost square, so that makes it easier. Cutting a curved bevel cut is difficult because it does really easily bind up in the track. the transom piece that's got the biggest curve to it, without a doubt. And the two last pieces of the bulwark, they're just over almost 5 feet long. They're relatively straight, and we'll cut them in exactly the same manner as we cut the whole last sheet. But that transom bit is going to be a little bit more challenging, especially the inside curve.
What are you going to be watching for as you make the cuts on this half piece?
That bibbity follows the line accurately.
All right, so before we make this last cut, we've actually realized that we're running low on time, and we have a schedule to keep. So
And a bit of cleaning up to do.
and a bit of cleaning up to
So-
do. So we actually have to head out before making this transom cut, but Aladino will make it with the jigsaw, maybe?
No, with the skill saw.
With the skill saw. Oh, okay.
Yeah, sometimes you have to use your enemies.
Back at our own shed. Aladino doesn't like the skill saw. So the material for our bulwarks is now ready and waiting to finally be installed. And sadly, Mom and Dad have to head home.
Yes, we're very glad to have seen your world finally.
Yes.
Yes, we're so
COVID
happy to have
kept us
come.
from it, being able to cross the border very easily, but
Yeah, short but sweet visit, but Dad has to get back to work, so you guys are heading back up now, just a weekend visit.
Yes, I took time off of my own refit to come and work on Maya and Aladino's refit.
I know. Ours is a bit smaller scale and hopefully less intense.
Yes, it was fun. It was
Less
fun.
boards of directors to move through.
It was a busman's holiday, but it was lots of fun for me.
Good.
we're super proud of you guys. You guys are doing an amazing job. You're doing such, following your dreams and working your butt off to achieve it, and you deserve it.
Thanks, Mom.
Love you both.
Love you too.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad. It was an absolute joy having them here, and I know that this won't be the last time you see them on Sailing Magic Carpet.